You know, sick and fed up with the young people them right now. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on your neck of the woods, wherever you are. It's like it's a wonderful opportunity to be here once again. Today we are here to reflect on a very important issue. We've been looking at various issues over the past couple of months. We are the St. Kitts National Men's Council. And today we want to address the behavior and values of young people and what this means for the future of our society. You know, in St. Kitts, young people represent a very large proportion or percentage of the population. And young people represent energy. Yes, some represent transformation. And throughout history, we can see that youth movements have shaped nations, from civil rights leadership of Martin Luther King Jr. to global activism of Greta Thunberg. Every generation is often criticized, though, yet with the young people. Every generation you find people would criticize the young people, but yet every generation would bring progress. And so in St. Kitts, St. Kitts is a small country, very small country in the Eastern Caribbean, in the world at large. But we have a big legacy, I would say, from our history as the mother colony of the West Indies to our achievements in education, in sports, culture, and governance. So even though we're small, there are things that we can boast about. The question is, the young people, did they contribute to these successes that in sports and culture and governance and all of that? We must ask ourselves, though, what values are guiding our youth today? How is technology influencing the behavior of the young people? Are young people prepared to lead tomorrow's world? This discussion is not about blaming. I want to say that at the onset. We're not here to blame, cast um, blame or criticize the young people, passing it blindly. It is about understanding, guiding, and empowering our youth. And to help me unravel some of these questions and to share in this discussion is the most venerable member AGAD of the St. Kitts National Men's Council. I'm very honored to have him in our presence tonight, as both of us would look at the behavior and values of young people and what this means for the future of our society. Welcome, Member AGAD.
Yeah, blessed greetings all. Yeah, once again on the airways or on the net waves. Yeah, spiritual values and certain behaviors. Like there's this mix up, but if you're talking about behavior, you find that society have their own concept, and in different regions, of course, you have different cultures where behavior and values would be kind of different. So it's not, in my opinion, a global construct. Each region, I guess, have their own idea of what they consider to be of great value or not so much. And when it comes to behavior again, these are patterns that people would just follow over time and what's not. But see, now we're on central praise. I could probably talk more about it in a more biblical context.
Okay.
And one of the most mix up thing that we have right now is that we have merged a concept or a name what we call manners. And manners has now basically become the god of values and behavior in our society. While we don't even understand truly what manners really is, because manners seem to go against certain biblical principles, certain spiritual order and what's not. But yet
Mm-hmm.
people would basically tell you you ain't got no manners,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I need to teach them manners and different things and so. But what did the Bible say?
Mm.
Deuteronomy, I think chapter 6, say, teach the youths them the ways of the Most High daily. Mark up this stuff on your doors, put it on your utensils, put it on your clothes, put it on your hand, wear it on your jacket and what's not. Wear what? The values that come with the scriptures, the whole commandments, the statutes, and these things is what we are to teach them. But we don't do that. We don't do that, and somehow we think that when they reach 18, they're magically gonna just be able to understand all these concepts of the Bible and be good children, be good, good, wholesome, spiritual and Christian like youths when you have not taught them to be so. So
Wow.
I think that the behavior has become a thing of like imported concepts. Like we have imported behavior right now. We have imported behaviors. We watch TV, there's the internet, social media.
That is the first aspect of this discussion which I would like you to address, the
Okay.
influence of the technology
The
and social
technology.
media on, how
Right.
does this
Right. Well,
influence the behavior?
the technology, of course, have a whole lot of things with it. Technology have serious implications when it comes to the mental state of some people, because some youths, they don't really go nowhere. They're just in the house playing with the PlayStation and the Xbox and what's not. But then you have now more options on the table. You have TikTok,
TikTok,
Instagram, and
Instagram,
all the other
the
social
impacts.
platforms that they have.
So impacts of platforms like TikTok,
Right,
Instagram on attitudes and behavior.
right.
Is there a negative impact? Is there a positive impact?
Well, it all depends, because it have both. You have some positive impacts and you have some negative impacts. There's some studies that's been done recently, not just in the US, but right here in the region in CARICOM, where they have noted that there's a surge of depression coming on some of these youths, seemingly because of these platforms.
Wow.
Because I guess some people try to be, there's always the peer pressure in between. You're trying to be something that you're not.
Wow.
And then everything, a lot of things now digital.
Mm.
And I've seen persons on TikTok, for instance, where on a normal day to day, people who you would see face to face will not keep up a certain, like, can I really have a good conversation, so to speak? Let me say it like that.
Because of TikTok?
No. Because of how they are, they cannot really have a good conversation with you. But they would go to the platform, start up the TikTok live,
Yeah.
and depending on the topic, just cuss out people.
Yeah.
They invite you to their live, try to
Tempo
cuss
in
you
it,
out and different things and so on. So
Wow.
it's like they find a space.
Yeah.
They find a space to express themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of just going on the side, you can't outside and views, as we just say, they find a space on TikTok.
Yeah, I think I've seen them like in the cars. Some persons they stick down in the car, and while they're driving, they're expressing their views on certain.
Right, and there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of talk about spirituality and levels that something you wonder, where's this coming from?
Wow.
So you find there's a lot of people out there with all kind of things in their mind, and instead of just being maybe just home, but this is why I say you have negative and positive impacts, because maybe it's a way for some of them to exhale. Instead of just battling it up inside and then just boss. Some of them
Release
use
all that,
this as a way to
stress.
exhale, so they just come there and just talk whatever it is they have to talk. Whether we see it as nonsense or not nonsense, that don't really matter sometimes. They just get a chance to excel. But then again, you have now the other area where, depending on what it is they're doing on TikTok, whether they're trying to create a certain image for themselves, and then your people down in the comments cussing them out,
That's true.
and then they start to feel kind of bad
true.
now because when they thought they look good, they really look so good,
Yeah.
and all these kind of things going on. So it's drama after drama after drama. So when it comes to the whole idea of behavior, because we have lapsed as parents and adults in the society, into the communities, the technology now has basically taken up that space, filling that gap. It's just like children at home, and we have a lot of single parent homes here, and the mothers, mostly mothers, would just put their child in front of the TV to babysit.
Yep. Or put an iPad in the
Or put an iPad in the hand, and I think I told you all the other day, a lady there pushing a what do you call that? The stroller, the pram, whatever it is, and a baby in there with a pacifier in the mouth and a tablet right there in its hand, and that keeping the child occupied.
Wow.
So this is where we're at right now, where the technology is being used from even before they are like 1 year old. And so they start being raised by the technology. They start being raised by other people's ideas.
Is that a bad thing?
It is a bad thing, because then the child would not look at you as the parent ever as a role model. Their role model is now becoming whatever it is that they're seeing on these devices.
You're not even like trying to, not even looking at nature, looking at their surroundings, observing. They just focused on the screen, right?
Yeah, focus on the screen, and that's why like football is a big thing in St. Kitts, and that's good, because a lot of these young men, they find something to do with their energy. So they go and they play football. They have a lot of rivalry going on, and they take that out on the football field. Instead of taking it out on TikTok, which is good.
Okay. Now the influence of technology on social and social media, you look at that, the changing moral and social values, behavior, respect for authority, parents, teachers, leaders. Do you see much of that going on among the young people?
Well, one of the things that is good about mankind is their ability to handle themselves using intelligence. And that being so, people sometimes behave according to what they expect to get from the behavior. So sometimes, for instance, if somebody go maybe look a job, a youngster look a job, and that they want the job really bad, so they're on the best behavior, and they, everything is good until they get the job, and then by the time they get the job, the behavior change. All of a sudden now they might be telling the boss man, they say, well, they hire them for, and they sign up for this.
I know about that. Yeah.
So, and then when it comes to the moral part of it, sometimes again it depends on what it is that they are selling in terms of the image. So some people who may say that they are part of the Christian community have to sell an image that seem like principle and morals, the principle guided by scriptures, and the morals therein would be something that they'll be selling with their image. But in reality, nothing goes on. Reality is nothing goes on. I mean, look at manners. Look at manners. I've never seen the word in no spiritual book. But our society run after manners as if manners is a god. So you hear, you ain't got no manners. But you ain't hear well. But you ain't know much about Deuteronomy. But you hear like who ain't got no manners and who got manners and who need to learn manners and all sorts of different things. Look, I'll say something strange. Please. The word please.
Please.
Right? I've never seen the word please used in any history book, any biblical text, where anybody, anyone asking for something and using the word please preceding what they want. Like please for a piece of bread, please for a bag. And that is manners. That you understand what I'm saying? This has become a part of society that if you don't say please, then you ain't got no manners. Mind you, you have absolutely nothing to do with your spiritual well-being. You have nothing to do with your theological level, like what level you're on when you study your theology and what's not. But if you don't say please, you're seen as a person who ain't got no manners. As mind you, I'm talking about a community who have basically told us that they are dealing with the Bible as the guidebook. That's the Constitution. This is where they.
If I walk in a shop and I say, give me a pound of sugar.
You walk in a shop, you're going to buy sugar. Why you should test anything else?
If I don't attach the please before or after, give me a pound of sugar.
Well, if you're in a society that don't put down manners as the God, you cannot get away with that. You might just not get no sugar.
In school and so the children, may I go to the bathroom, please?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, where did that come from, though? And that research could be done. I've looked into it a little bit, but not deep enough.
Maybe we could have a discussion. That's interesting.
We're talking about behavior and values.
Yeah,
so I'm just showing you that the behavior and values of youths today is under strain because adults and people who think that they're well learned are pressuring these youths into some of these things.
Okay, so you have an issue with words like those expressions of courtesy, like please and thank you, you're welcome,
no,
and so on.
I have no issue with them. The short answer, no.
Okay, attitudes towards honesty, responsibility, and discipline. There's a shift from traditional values to modern individualism. There's a shift from traditional values to modern individualism.
Well, I would want to understand what you mean by traditional values.
The values that we, like you said, we grew up on, our parents would have inculcated in us.
Manners?
So some people pass on the road and the young people today don't even say good morning. How are you doing? From morning, some nothing, People expect certain things traditionally, So there's a shift towards, people are doing what they want to do and behaving the way they want to behave.
It all depends on what that tradition is based on. Because again, if that tradition is somehow based on the Christian or the Muslim reality and what's not, then the interactions would be shaped by those principles. So like for instance, if a Christian person greeting another Christian person, they don't greet them according to biblical text. They greet them according to what the social norm is, which is good morning, hello, good afternoon, all these things. Nothing at all from the text.
Yes, it's true.
Nothing at all from the text.
You don't want the blessings?
Well, I don't say those things.
Greetings, sir.
but you understand what's happening.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying, like, what do you mean by traditional values?
Traditional values.
When you say traditional values,
to modern individual.
I don't know how far back you wanted to go with that, because if you're talking about our society as it is now, that came from our ancestors a couple generations ago, we don't know behind the curtains of the time of slavery what it is and how they used to interact when they come to greet each other and what's so
that's true.
But we now know that manners sneaking in on us as a new God, and that now have to shape society outside of the framework of the Christian foundation. So you find we have a majority Christian community in the Caribbean, yet you cannot hear it. You cannot hear it in the conversation. Mind you, you're gonna hear a lot of Jesus Christ, but you're not gonna hear the dialogues, the interactions in any way close to what they read. So if this is what it is that you're basing your behavior on, your values on, your morals on, why aren't you practicing to speak that way?
You know, how many of us seek opportunities during our work day to share the love of Christ, or whatever we believe, our religious beliefs are, with others on the job? 90% of the time we talk
No, I think I don't agree with that so much. I think that's bullying sometimes, because it's like, okay, the Rasta community, for instance, which I am a member, have been a community that has been persecuted, has been trodden down on, and all kind of things for years upon years. Right now, you're seeing it in a kind of different way, but it's kind of in a kind of sneaky way. It always appears like, oh, we don't have that issue now, but we do, right? Now, if you see a youngster in any family, mostly, well, families that are not in the Rasta community, and you see a youngster, for some reason, look like he or she is taking on this kind of belief, it's like the family want to divorce that youth, right? As a matter of fact, it seems like it's more acceptable to be a homosexual than to be a Rasta man. That's how it seems to me, right? Because it's like the whole idea of the Christian community and following the values and the behaviors of the biblical text, even though you find that the Rasta community traditionally display these values. They speak that way, they behave that way, they carry themselves that way. And the same Christian community hate them, don't like that. They don't like that. As a matter of fact, I hear it.
Me? You talking about me?
Well, I don't know, you got to tell me. But,
but
remember, I said Christian community, I'm not individualizing it. I'm saying Christian community because I've seen the behaviors of how people behave. But the point I'm making is that, and where I mentioned bullying though, is because the Christian community feel like they're entitled to tell you about the faith.
So you don't share your faith with
absolutely
others?
Not. Absolutely not.
So
I share based on conversation. I don't come. I don't knock nobody's door to tell them I'm nothing. I'm not kind of. I'm come witnessing. No.
I mentioned that because I heard you say, you made a comment earlier that the Christian beliefs, however, you don't see that transcend into the daily lives, or you don't see it.
I don't see it.
So that's why I said sharing something with others.
No, okay. Let's look at the biblical.
I don't know what you mean when you say.
I'm trying to compare it to. Let's look at Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and then the epistles by Paul and James and all these guys and what's that. In their movement and so on, were they in any way going to people who did not invite them? Were they knocking people door to go tell them about Jesus Christ or anything like that? Were they doing any of that? No. They go to people who are already seeking, and they go and give them a strength, as we just said. So it's not like, you see some fellas out there play domino and you go down and tell them, boy, I think I should stop play domino, I come share some Jesus Christ with her, The reason I bring in Rasta now, because I was trying to show you that while it is okay to go and spread an accepted religion, ideology, that's okay. It's okay to do. It's okay to come and knock, do and say you come share this. But the Rasta man go do that. Go share anything about Hail Selassie and them kind of things there. It's like they want to call police.
So
I'm saying it's like bullying. It's a kind of bullying kind of mentality. People feel like they're entitled to come and tell you what they feel like. Because, mind you, they're not even prepared to witness to anyone. They're not prepared. Why they're not prepared? Because they assume that you don't know. They assume you don't know. So So they're coming to share something with you because you don't know. You know? Or they're just trying to make sure that you become one of them. So mind you, all this have to do with behavior and values. This is how people behave. They're already setting the tone and the trend and the precedence for the children them who are watching. Because they're the ones who are going to do it tomorrow and do it more aggressive.
Well, Rasta, between you and me, Rasta wouldn't like to see the whole world come to the knowledge of the truth and understand.
Yeah, man, I think Rasta people are more realistic when it comes to life in general. That's why Bob Marley got a song saying, "Is total destruction is the only solution." And Christ said that. Revelation said that. Christ, Matthew 24, Christ reasoned on all of that. So why we gotta play like we ain't understand none of that? So we so we ain't got this as like no play thing. This is real.
Yeah, okay. While you're talking, I'm thinking, you're just picturing a scenario. One or two Rasta men just coming knocking on my door. I would like
Just
to
imagine.
I would like to,
Come share
talk
about
to you
it
about.
with you.
No, I would not. I would listen. I would listen.
You think?
I would entertain
I
them.
tell you, man,
Engage them.
people, police got end up at some of them seeing you.
So, well, maybe that's the reason why the spread and influence of it is not as um large, extensive as you would like it to be, because Rastas don't go sharing their faith and their beliefs with others like that.
No,
So,
but you see, okay, you remember in the Bible reading there, where the Messiah was sharing some vibes with some Pharisees, and he told them that if they had read what Moses wrote and read the Psalms where David had some writings there as well, he said that y'all would know me because Moses spoke about me, David spoke about me, the prophets them spoke about him. Now, and they know, and he right in front of them and stand up and they know who he is. I said that to say that all history books, all research have shown that the biblical characters look like how Rasta people look. Bearded and all these different things. In terms of the eating, the document is right there. Rasta eat according to the biblical.
so Christ was Rasta.
Well,
Okay, we can.
that's a different conversation.
Alright, okay.
But you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, okay.
So I'm saying that the same community now who say they are Christian are basically unlike Christ. So it's like you cannot go outside there and look at a person and just figure they look like a Christian. But it's supposed to carry a look. But it don't carry a look because the Christian and the sinner look just alike. And when they talk, they almost talk just alike.
Wow.
So the only thing separate them is when maybe one say, "Well, I'm a Christian," you know. But you shouldn't be having to say that. It's supposed to show. It's supposed to show how you look, and it's supposed to also be heard how you talk.
Yes, I believe that.
So where did this behavior come from? This behavior came from years and years of patterns developed through the whole area of religion. Where remember, you're an educator. Remember in the history books we learn that when our ancestors were brought out here, they were not allowed into these churches that came over with them. When I say with them, like the slave masters, them, you had the Anglican, the Methodist, and a couple other these religion over here. They were not allowed to go in those churches. They were not allowed. Later on, a couple of 100 years later, maybe 200-300 years later, they were allowed to go in the back. You remember the history, right? So could you explain to me how they get up on the pulpit? They weren't allowed to be in there. Then they were put in the back. Now they're up at the pulpit, claiming the church.
Well, the crisis for everyone, and the gospel is for everyone. There's no Greek, Jew, the divisions, so to speak.
You sure?
Gentiles, you know. But anyway, but let's get back to this thing here. We could talk about that in another. Look at how things have changed in relation to the church and
Well,
all of that.
let me just read this one verse for you. And this is Deuteronomy from all the versions. This is Deuteronomy, but I'm reading specifically from the King James Version. Deuteronomy 6, verse 6. And I say these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thy house, and when thou walk by the way, and when thou lay down, and when thou rise up. Now you tell me now, as a Christian person,
That's
you
passing
tell
on
you
the,
tell me
the knowledge of.
you tell me which church or Christian group that you know does do this.
Pass on the teachings and so on. They try to teach them.
This is Deuteronomy.
Yeah, I understand the one. I know
Yeah.
the verse. I know. I'm familiar
So-
with the
so-
verse. But
so
you're looking at the individual actions here. It's when thou sittest, when thou walkest, when thou.
No.
You know.
He's the brethren who wrote was saying what God told him.
Yeah, he's this is the book of Deuteronomy. Moses is saying this, right? Yeah. But I think we can come back to that, and this is a very good point for discussion in another in a subsequent broadcast.
But we talk about behavior.
Yes,
So
yeah.
if you don't have if you don't have this,
I know you're asking me
grounded.
which group who does that.
yeah, ask if
Right?
you know of any.
Specifically.
Do you know of any?
There are persons who do that, I believe.
No, man. Ask if you believe. Ask if you know of any. Not believe. Do
Thou
you
shalt
know? Do you know
and
definitively?
thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shall talk of them when thou sittest in thine house. Yeah, people are Christian, their families, Christian families, your parents who.
No, man. Asking you where to assume it. You know.
I know of it. I know.
Obviously, there have to be persons
who do that.
who practice some of these things. But I'm asking you, do you know of any Christian group, any church that like, this is their practice? I'm talking about individuals. If I said individual earlier, that's not what I meant.
Okay.
I'm talking about group of people who come together.
But isn't that one of the missions or the mandates of the church to do these things?
Where's the mandate of the book?
Yeah, so.
But they're not doing this.
Okay.
But anyway, let's move on.
Okay. Now, the influence of global culture versus local culture. What's happening globally in comparison with what we're seeing on the local level? Does that is what, because you talk about TikTok, different things, the trends and so on. Do you think that the global culture is affecting our local culture?
I don't think we have a local culture. When you look at people who went through what we went through, and when you look at what we do right now and how we behave right now, remember we're talking about behavior and what's not too. We are seeing a mix. We are seeing a mix kind of thing happening where we have adopted things from our slave masters, the colonial powers. We have adopted a lot of their stuff. We have adopted stuff from people who go away and come back here. And now, because of the same technology that we alluded to earlier, we are now adopting those stuff. So I don't know if to say we have a culture, because what it is that we're pointing at to say, well, that is our culture. I don't know. I mean,
so our culture is being lost, eroded.
We don't have a culture.
We don't have a culture.
Because I think if we had a culture, we would preserve it. Don't you think? I mean, I don't know. Maybe
I think that some of the local, especially the people here who work in the Ministry of Culture and the local historians and so on would beg to differ
And
or disagree.
I would love for them
They
to
would
differ and
they
tell me
may tell you
what our culture is.
you
Because
know
I need to know too.
because there's an individual, he calls himself the cultural preservation consultant, Mr. Winston Zach Nisbet. I don't even know him. These are people who are dedicated to keeping and maintaining, preserving what they consider to be the local culture of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Well, I think that's a good work on Zach's part. That's the most I can say to that.
So and they look at the folklore and so on, and the cultural events, the masquerade, clown, and different
You see,
things.
and these are things that we have adopted from the colonial people, colonial powers. These people assume that some of these things are from our ancestors. It's not so. When you do the history, the whole idea of masquerade and clown and all these things is just forms to entertain the colonial powers. They have them, Italy have them. Every single part of Europe have their own version of these things. They have their festivals that they do these things. People try to associate with Africa. Some countries in Africa have some certain things that may look similar, but it's not from Africa.
Hmm.
It is not from Africa.
Wow.
Matter of fact, there's some African countries who I think is actually looking at some of the things that we do in the Caribbean as these things and may be trying to even copy some of those things. But we just locally think that, oh, these are things from Africa. They're not. As a matter of fact, look, we don't do the most, we don't do some of the most silly things, right? And call it culture. No, if I call it, okay, let me look at this. If I meet you outside and I say, Beverage boy, you're a clown, you would probably get upset with me. But yeah, we have a whole group of people who call themselves clowns. And it's supposed to be with culture.
So that thing with the bull and Dr. Davis and you get the injection.
Just entertainment.
That's not a local. That story didn't originate here in Saint Kitts and Nevis. So could kind of be classified as a local cultural act or something.
Well, you see, my problem with culture talk sometimes is this: it's like, how long does it take for something to be considered to be a culture? Is it a time frame issue? Is it an issue that society accept whatever it is that is being proposed? So culture to me is a little kind of, it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of iffy. So
yeah, because you talk about the colonial masters and what certain things influence what is going on right, even with these
a lot of things we're seeing, but we're selling it to youths like these are our ancestors' ideas, and this is our culture. So that's why I say whoever trying to preserve, as you mentioned, the brethren who trying to preserve certain things, like I said, it's a good work, but one, because we really don't have no real rooted culture that is there from our ancestors, there's no real need to preserve it, and so therefore it evolves.
Sure.
And once it evolves, then it's like, how do you reference it at a later date to say that was our culture?
Who are we as a people?
That's for our next topic, I guess. That is a long story. But let me look at that a little bit though, in terms of even how we behave, if we're gonna be in that vein still. Now, if you look at the history of how we came here, remember we weren't the first people with color here. You had people who came from South and Central America who were here into the form of the Taino and the I forget the other name, but what we call locally the Caribbean Islands, right?
The Kalinago?
Yeah, the Kalinago and the Taino. These were not people from Africa. No, maybe thousands of years before prior, you could say maybe if we really believe that Africa is the cradle of civilization, the cradle of man. If we got a route, then we could say that, but we will have to trace it and map it, because there's almost no document to show where the Incas, the Aztecs, and the Olmec people came from. Yet they were colored people, and they were living in South in the Americas. And then you even have, I think the only thing I've read so far is that the Olmec, I think, Olmec people would have been a people when they had something was happening in the east. So there was a migration, and they migrated to Central America. And then when you check Central America, and even the Americas, whether we call it North, Central, and South America, there are certain animals and birds that are indigenous to that land mass. And when you check the architecture, for instance, like buildings and so on, there's not. I've never been to Africa, but from the research that I've done and seen so far, there's nothing really spectacular about the African architecture. But there's jaw-dropping things about the Central America architecture, the way they build homes that were climate efficient and all these different things and so on. But we just talk about Africa fluidly, like we understand what we're saying. And we sound bright, maybe, but
well, okay. I think we're winding down. We behavior values of the young people and what this means for the future. We can talk about education, career aspirations, the youth and social awareness.
But that's too much to talk about.
The challenges facing young people.
In this little bit,
yeah. No,
8 minutes.
Maybe another time, another forum. The positive traits of today's youths, the role of adults and institutions, the importance of mentorship, guidance versus control, role of schools, churches, and the community groups, and modeling positive values for them. So as a wrap up, I want you to very carefully remember AGAD, and I want you to take your time. Maybe, we have 5 minutes, 5 minutes remaining. Yeah. So I want you to address the latter part of the topic, which speaks to the future, what it means for the future of society. Given that the behavior and the values of the young people may not be very promising, what does this mean for the future of our society?
Well, I would just got to go with Bob Marley's song. It's a society that is on a collision course, with, just to destroy itself, basically.
So, you don't think things are going to get better?
Things can get better.
Don't with all our education and people have so much brain power, so many positive thoughts and ideas to share, and excuse me, to share. People are becoming more knowledgeable. Don't you think that with all that brain power, we can see an improvement in terms of?
Well, again, it depends on what scale you're using to measure improvement, because if you're using the education scale, we have maybe more people could read. So yes, there's improvement in that area. If you're using the moral scale, that has been declining. So there's no improving there. If you're using family, fathers are not taking care of their responsibilities. That is on a very serious decline since a very long time. So there's no improvement in that. So
the outlook doesn't look bright. Yeah.
But I said it earlier, we're on a collision course. It's like look for instance, we have administration after administration being elected to do things for the society and what's not, to bring betterment, for things to improve. And you do have some things that improve, like the road we drive on seem like that improve. So when it comes to certain infrastructure, improvement is top notch. But when it comes to the people, the behavior of people in terms of morality, that is not improving, and I don't see it improving anytime at all. So therefore, infrastructure gonna be here, but people gonna be going down the road.
Well, remember the young people today. They're the leaders for tomorrow,
Exactly,
of
and that's the
tomorrow.
point of it all. The fact that they're the ones who are gonna be leading
They're the
tomorrow.
leaders of
We
tomorrow.
we
Yeah.
supposed to be preparing them
But some of them are entering into leadership position today.
unprepared. Unprepared. We have a government with some children right now. But I'm saying children because I know you're older than some of them. And so, but didn't the Bible have a passage there say that when the people don't behave, I shall put children to rule over them? And look at how these children behaving. I mean, worship come. They want to go see the worship. And you know that every time you turn on your Facebook pictures and videos and all, real children behaving. So we're seeing from the very top of our society, which is the governing body, that they're behaving like children.
Okay.
And if you're setting that precedence now, and the children are looking at that, just kind of project that forward in time. What it is you're gonna see, Dwight? Because if you have your governing people behaving like children, and they are the ones who children are supposed to be looking to in order to become the new leaders, and we know how black people are. We always take things to the next extreme. Just imagine a government gonna increase their pay even before a year's work. What do you think a next administration gonna do? So we're talking about, is there improvement? Yes, infrastructure wise, there's a lot of improvement. But people wise, I don't see it.
Okay, I think we're gonna. I think with that thought, we're going to conclude this discussion on the values and behavior of the young people. What does this mean for the future? As we conclude, let's remember that the young people, they are the leaders. Well, some say they're the leaders of tomorrow, but they're not just leaders of tomorrow. They are leaders. They just said today. Some of them,
Yeah, they're there right now.
and every generation would face some level of criticism, but we must hold them to the fire. We must, as people who understand and know what is, have seen better and know, have an idea of what we want to expect, what we should see. We should tell them so that the future would be bright. We must invest in character development. We must think critically, have strong moral foundations, and exhibit empathy and responsibility. Then the prospect would be, I believe, would be bright. But remember, Agard said there's a question mark surrounding that.
My closing statement would be this verse of scripture, which is 2 Chronicles 7, verse 14, which says, if my people shall humble themselves and pray.
Shall call by my name. Skip all that.
If my people,
which are called by my name,
shall humble themselves and pray,
and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven.
Okay.
Will forgive their sins and will heal their lands.
That is my closing argument.
I think that's a wonderful, magnificent way to conclude this discussion tonight. I want to thank you, member Agard. I want to thank those of you who have been viewing and listening, and I want to wish you all the best. And we look forward to coming your way again. The Men's Council, the St. Kitts National Men's Council, looks forward to coming your way again with another edition of Rapport with the Men's Council. Have a good one.